Thank you for checking out the new episode of New Dice. I very much appreciate it. Welcome in. I'm a brand new GM. I am 5 sessions into my home game. I'm going to give you some things in today's episodes that I've taken away, that I've taken away from my first 5 sessions. And I'm going to share 5 things that I would recommend to you if you are a new GM as you approach the daunting task of running a game, the exciting task of running a game. I'm going to give you 5 things that I've learned, and I'm going to give you a handful of things that I'm still working on. And the hopes are that we can learn from the things that I have learned and can share with you. And then with the things that I don't know about, maybe we go to the comments and people who are experienced GMs get involved and they let us know how to solve some of those things. Maybe things that they would say help out a lot with some of the things that happen at your table that are going to be tough, that are going to be a little bit more interesting to maneuver. And I just want to help out with that because this is such a cool thing. It's such a cool hobby. And I love it, and I love us all trying to get better in this hobby. So I'm going to get you 5 things. Now, at the end of this episode, and you can look at the timestamps, we're going to put a bow on last episode, which was about giving away treasure. And we are going to read some comments from that. I love reading comments from people who took the time to comment. We're also going to take a look at the status of the channel, because that's something I like doing, because we're 20 episodes in. We're 20 episodes in, not counting the intro video. 20 episodes in. Where are we at this point? And how that ties into GMing. Because I think there's a tie-in with what I'm feeling with the channel to how GMing goes. And I want to discuss that at the end. But let's bust through some of these 5 things that I've learned early on in my GMing career, 5 sessions in, that I would like to share with new GMs that maybe can help you at your table if you're just getting started. All right, let's start with number 1, NPCs. NPCs are a big deal in my world with how my brain works. I've talked about them in previous videos. We're going to talk about them still at the end of this video when we get to the kind of work in progress stuff, things I don't have a very solid take on yet. But with NPCs, and one thing I'd recommend to you, new GMs, again, this is just how my table is working, how my brain is working, and something that I think could bring you ease. This may be something that you hear and go, I'm not going to have a problem with that. But this would be my warning to you with something to do here. NPCs. I am not doing voices right now anymore with my NPCs. I very much tried to. I tried to do voices. I have a bunch of notes on all the NPCs that exist in the little town in my campaign. And I tried to put little notes about how they sound. And what I've found is I'm not great at voices, but also I'm focused on so much other stuff when the game is going on. And I'm focused on so much what I need to say to the players and what I want to correlate and things I want them to hear and things that I need to know are happening, that to mix learning how to do voices and learning how to just run an NPC at the same time has been very tricky. So the better thing for me to hack is get rid of the voices for now and really focus on getting better at running an NPC. So I just use this amazing voice of mine. I just use this voice, my normal voice. Occasionally, if we're in an area where there's dwarves, I kind of will just maybe do a dwarf voice, what I think a dwarf would sound like, but then all my dwarves sound the same. And I'm just going to hope that's going to work at my table and that the content of what's being said, and maybe slow the voice down, maybe speed it up, excited to non-excited, that's the extent of it. But it has helped me with my NPCs. It's helped me with running them in a better way. Number 2, music. I like music at the table. I think it's really cool. I think it's one other thing you can add that's not super duper hard to add. And one thing that I would recommend with it is if you create a playlist for your music and you go, well, look, I'm going to have music for the tavern. I'm going to have music for exploration. I'm going to have music for my dungeons. I'm going to have music for combat. I'm going to have all this music. That's awesome. That's great. And it's all out there and available. But what I'd recommend is when you start and you hit play at the beginning of your session, have it be a very, 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 very long, pretty generic fantasy style or whatever soundtrack playlist. Just a long one. Because there's a very good likelihood that as you run a game as a GM, you realize, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. It's very easy to forget something like, let's change the music to combat, because combat happens and you go, holy cow, I've got to run combat. This is a lot. I'm brand new at this. And the last thing you want to think about, or you do think about, is music. So get a very long clip, very long song, the longest one you can find, and have that as your default. so that when you hit play, you know that's going to run regardless in the background. And then if you remember to switch it, that's great. That's awesome. That'll be super cool. But if you don't remember, don't just have a 4-minute clip that runs out, the music stops, and then 30 minutes later, you're like, oh crap, we haven't had music for 30 minutes. So that's my music recommendation. Something I've loved forever in my life, 3x5 cards. I've loved these since I was a child. Growing up in school, I used them like crazy. When I did a radio show for 20 years, when I did that morning show, I had 3x5 cards plastered all over the place with ideas for segments and stuff that we would utilize all the time. I love 3x5 cards are like my note-taking device, and they work great in TTRPGs. What I'd recommend having them for you as a starting GM, you're going to want to give away items, something I talked about in the last video. Check that one out. You're going to want to incorporate things for your players specifically that you think about during the week. You're like, oh, I really want to. Deb, my table, Deb has a tablet that she carries with her, and she's waiting for these runes on this tablet that she found to at some point activate. And I'm like, I want that to start happening. When the game gets going, though, and the story's going, and I'm focused so hard on, okay, what needs to happen with the story, I forget about a character's backstory. Sometimes it's hard to remember that stuff. Secrets. Shout out Sly Flourish, Secrets and Clues. The 8 Steps to Lazy Dungeon Master. Awesome stuff from Sly Flourish, Mike Shea. Secrets. I forget. I know there's a bunch I want, maybe 2 especially that I really want. So what I've been doing is I take 3x5 cards. I write down an item. Now I've got a bunch of items maybe in my notes that I want to give out, but I write down one of them. I write down one thing I want for a player at my table, one thing I really want to have happen. And I write it down. Then I have other ones on my notes. Then I write down 1 secret or 2 secrets that I really want to get out there. And then I have the rest on my notes. But I've got these that I put in Sharpie real big, and I lay them against my Dungeon Master screen. Okay. So unlike my small little notes, these ones are huge, and they're sort of my reminder that at least these 3 things I'm seeing in big, bold letters, I can remember to just shove into the game. And it kind of helps you at least get some stuff out. And sometimes that jars my memory to look back at my notes like, oh yeah, crap, I want to do some stuff with the backstory. But when you're in it and it starts going, until you remember every time to do that, I think this is a great way to jar your memory on stuff like that. Number 4, I think this is a huge thing. It's something that I want to do with this channel, whatever this channel is. Again, we'll talk more about that at the end. I would love to grow it into something where we can have a community to do this. Run practice sessions. So for me, GMing, I've got my table. We're 5 sessions in, and I'm very raw. I'm in rookie mode. It's rough. In fact, the last session I finished, I got done. My brother's kind of my sounding board to how this is all going. I called him. I was like, Trav, this is not going well. That was a bad session. And I was just bummed about it. And I'm running these sessions once a week. I haven't done it a whole lot. What do I expect? I come from a world, I played a lot of basketball growing up, played it through forever, still do, and I'm pretty good at it now. It's not because I just walked into the gym and I was like, I'm really good at this. I've shot a basketball more times than I should ever know, and then I should ever count. I've put in the practice. I've done the reps. The practice makes perfect. All the separations and the preparation, all that stuff. Run practice games. Get onto a Discord server. Go find people and say, look, I'm trying to get better at GMing. Would anyone on this server have 2 hours available on a Saturday night to let me run combat? Let me run a one-shot. Let me try to run NPCs in a tavern and run practice sessions. You are going to find people who are very excited to help you out, very excited just to play games. We all love playing games. That's why we're in this hobby. You're going to find people who want to play. You're going to get reps under your belt. You're going to get better. You're going to start finding it easier to describe things. You're going to find it easier to make things up on the fly. You're going to find little tricks that work for you to remember to run things. Run practice sessions. Number 5, and I want to do a video about this, so I don't want to get too far into it. Play a solo game. Every now and then, run a solo session. I'm not saying get into it and do it every night and you're playing a solo session every night. But if you have an hour a week, 30 minutes here, 15 minutes there, 30 minutes here, to play a solo game, it does help wire your brain as a GM to running games, weirdly. And again, there's going to be a video on this channel about my experience with running a solo game, what I used, how I made it work, what I thought of it. But I will tell you, for me, it did help with just some conceptualizing how NPCs work. NPCs is a big deal with me right now, obviously a big struggle that I'm having. Also help with a little bit of combat. You get to know rules as well. Maybe you're struggling with knowing every rule. In a solo game, it can help you look up rules and run into things, conditions and stuff that, oh, this is what this does. This is what paralyze is. This is how prone works. Basic stuff. But it gets your brain into it. It lets you look it up on your own time. Run a solo game. It does help you as a GM. So there's 5 things I'd recommend for you, new GMs. Now, here are some work in progress things. Things I'm not 100% sure of. I don't have solutions yet. I'm looking for them. When I come up with them and I figure it out, well, obviously I'll share it on this channel because we're new GMs trying to get into this hobby, trying to be better at it, and provide more games for people who want to play them at a good level. Number 1, I'm not sure where I fall with pre-written adventures. I think I love them. I think I really like them. I think I like putting a pre-written adventure onto my table. I have found it's been a little tricky incorporating that into a bigger story. I decided that I was just going to undertake my table into a story that I came up with. But also at the same time, I'm like, I don't know how to do that. So I have this overarching story, but I've been shoving in pre-written adventures, little one-shots here and there, and hoping that I can tie them into this bigger story. I think I like doing that. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I would recommend trying a pre-written adventure because they do come with stuff that is, especially with combat, they come with if your character's a level 1, you're running a level 1 adventure, it's going to be balanced for the most part. And that's a huge deal as a new GM in a combat space. Is like, I don't know if this is balanced. What are 50 goblins going to take out my 4 level 3 characters very quickly, very slowly, right? Do I need 8 kobolds? Do I need 4 kobolds? In the pre-written adventures, they've got that taken care of for you. It's kind of cool. Okay, number 2, I don't know where I fall with minis and terrain yet as a new GM because I want to have minis and terrain, period. I think it's great. I really like it. That's the style of table I like. I also really enjoy my Chessex battle map and drawing on it and sort of more theater of the mind and the rawness of drawing on it. I really like that. But especially when it comes to minis, I feel like they really add to the game. I feel like they really add to the table. The problem is I don't have a ton of them and I don't know what I need all the time. So one thing that I've fallen into is I look through before my session and I'm like, what minis do I have? Well, then that's all I can throw at the players. There's hundreds and hundreds of monsters available out there, thousands of monsters available out there. And I've pigeonholed myself because I'm like, well, these are the minis I have. I'm like, we got bugbears and we got some goblins and I got some skeletons and a zombie. And that's what we're fighting. You can limit yourself with the minis. So I'd be careful. I'm just being cautious with minis, how I'm incorporating them right now, because I do feel like they have caused me to have similar combats in the first 5 sessions that I've ran. I'm struggling, and this is going to be something I think you struggle with. If you're going to do an adventure that's out of your own brain, I'm struggling to make my story work. I am. As a new GM who hasn't done this before, I've played in campaigns and they worked. But when you're running it, it's like, oh boy, this is a different beast. I got the story idea in my head. You hear it a lot. I've said it a lot. Your players aren't always going to do what you think they're going to do. And when you're a new GM and you're making up your own story, it's like, oh crap. You didn't do what I thought you would do. I don't know what happens now. I'm really struggling with that. And I want it to work so much. And this is the burden I carry as a GM, and you might as well. And I'm struggling with this. I've got 4 people who are coming over to my house every week, spending their time. And time is valuable, right? It's one of the most valuable commodities on earth is time. They're spending their time to play this with me. I want it to be something that they didn't waste their time doing. I want them to leave and say, that was a valuable use of my time. And so I feel this heavy burden as a GM where I want that to be the case every week. And so when my story's not making sense all the way and I can feel it at the table, that's a little tough. So one of the things I'm struggling with is just making my story work, incorporating it in a way that makes sense and is fun. That's been a little bit tricky. And so as a new GM, if you're going to make up your own story, I'm just letting you know right now, it is it's jumping through some hoops to make all of it make sense. And then finally, NPCs. I mentioned NPCs. I mentioned them a lot. This has been a struggle for me. If I'd recorded my last couple sessions, ooh man, the NPCs have been wild because I get into talking to the players and I'm like, okay, I don't want this conversation to drag on forever. I want to have some fun with the NPCs. I've forgotten their voice, and the conversation becomes really difficult. And so I have been bouncing back and forth because a player will come in. For instance, one of the players came in, Incan came in and talked to the mayor. I thought the mayor was going to give him all this info. I was like, here we go. They're talking to the mayor. I'm going to just word vomit on them these secrets and clues that I have that are going to lead them to these ancient ruins or to this stuff, a caravan that's gone missing. I got two different angles, two different things this mayor's going to throw at him. Incan went into the mayor, conversed for a little while, never asked for any of the, hey, what could I do? And I threw out there, we are always looking for help. Incan didn't bite, needed to get paid for this thing they had done for the town. I told him to get paid, go to the mayor, and Incan left. Talked to him for 3 minutes. Incan left. I'm like, oh no, I had all this stuff I was going to have you do to progress the table tonight, and you just left. Then they came back in to the mayor, and I'm like, well, now I don't know what to do. And I was bouncing back and forth between talking as if I was the mayor and then 2 seconds later going, well, the mayor also tells you blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is jarring. NPCs are hard to run. They're hard to run. I'm just going to tell you that right now. NPCs are hard to run. I would say be prepared to run NPCs in a way that's like, you can tell I'm nervous about it because I'm just like moving around so much. But NPCs are hard. And so I'm still working on that. I'm still working on how to like properly and run an NPC and run it well. So there you go. There's some tips and some things that I'm still working on for my first 5 sessions, 20 episodes in to this channel. Before we tie up last episode, read some comments, which I love. I want to address where are we at with this channel. It's been an interesting run because I really wanted to build a community here. There's some YouTubers who I love who do, I love Dungeon Tube. I love it. I mentioned Sly Flourish earlier. I think that's one of my gold standard people. The Bard's College is one of my favorite YouTube channels in the Dungeon Craft world. I love Bonus Reaction. Boy, there's so many that I can't think of right now that I love. I watch so much that now I can't think of any of the names. So I apologize. I feel like I need to like do a quick low-key TTRPG. Absolutely love. Where was it? JP Coover, I absolutely love. I love the Ghostfire podcast stuff. I love, where was the other one I just wanted? Mastering Dungeons. There's so much Dungeon Tube that I love, right? And you see their channels grow, and it's like, holy cow, they're getting a ton of interaction, tons of views. You feel like they're making a difference in this. And this channel kind of grew a little bit, and now we're slowly losing. As the subscription numbers are going up, it makes you feel like, oh, I want to make more. I want to do more of this. And then now it's in a downward, like I'm losing way more than I'm gaining right now. And it's frustrating. It's like, oh, that's a frustrating thing when you're trying to build something up and you're trying to get good at it and you feel like you're failing at it. That's also how it feels sometimes GMing. As I'm learning how to GM, I can see my players at the table being like, who have played it with good GMs and have played a lot of games. I feel them be like, this isn't how the last campaign I played in was. And there's this fear of like, well, I can't do it. But what I'm telling myself is I find GMing valuable. I find it to be very fun. I want to provide people who want to play games with a chance to do that. So I want to keep doing it. I want to keep trying to get better. With this channel, there's many times I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing? I want to keep doing it. I want to keep making content. These 20-minute videos where there's no edits, it's probably not going to work on YouTube, but I want to keep trying. I like doing it. And I appreciate the people who listen for 20 minutes to me blabbing. I appreciate that. In fact, let's celebrate some of them right now because there are people who have commented who have done an awesome job with commenting on stuff. So this is from the last video, Give Your Players Treasure. I want to start with Gaming Treasure Chest because it's Gaming Treasure Chest. And it was about treasure. Gaming Treasure Chest said, yeah, don't fall for that. Don't give your players this. There's some stuff you'll see online where it's, don't give your players too much stuff. It'll break the game. A lot of the times that's crazy players who will try to exploit things, but not for most. Also, they will say it will break the game. Let them have that fun, but then have consequences down the line so they can't continuously use it. Maybe don't give them a new item every session, and then they can become expected and not use as much. Give them cool items when it makes sense, looting a powerful enemy or searching their lair. Also learn giving players items which go with your player's style. Rangers like using bows. Give them a good bow. And then this is in terms of my game. On the ore front, part of my story. Maybe it needs an ancient ritual the players can find clues to. I'm still working on how this ore activates. I got this ore that needs to activate for it to become super powerful. I like the idea. I need certain materials gathered, words spoken as they hold the weapon. I really like that. Really like that a lot. This comes from Allurian 90 says, I'm really bad at making and giving loot, so this advice is do as I say, not as I do. The main thing to avoid is small bonuses on easy conditions. These just become accounting that slow everything down and drain the mood. For example, this dagger has +1 to attack when sneaking and +1 damage when next to an ally. If you give them a lot of these, the players end up with a weird checklist to look through every time they attack, but none of it will amount to cool moments or story impact. I never even thought of that, Allurian. I never even thought of that. That's great content. Either side of that is cool, though. A small bonus that's automatic, the classic +1 weapons, can just be rolled into your basic attack and forgotten about. A large bonus on a rare effect is also awesome. Holy Avengers 2d10s versus Fiends. because when it happens, it's probably on for the whole combat, and boy, it's going to be the talk of the table when it happens. That sounds cool. It goes on to say, obviously, be careful when handing that out if your whole campaign will be Fiends. Makes sense. The classic rare effect is to be consumable potion scrolls, which are awesome if you can convince your players to ever use them. You can write any effect you want on a potion, and worst case scenario is it only happens once. Be careful of scrolls if you have a wizard. Yeah, because I think the wizards can learn it. It becomes a little more tricky. Previous editions of D&D had a lot more small bonuses on easy conditions on items, and also just baked them into the combat system. One of the great moves of 5e was basically to eradicate them and move them all to advantage-disadvantage, which purposefully, easy for me to say, barely stacks so you can't chase down a list of them. It's a really good comment. There's a lot more to it, and one of it I wanted to finish with this. Separately, you mentioned the overwhelming nature of being a DM. Certainly, this is simply true. It's the biggest task on the table. It will get better with practice as the rules become second nature rather than active thought. In the meantime, here's a few tips to lighten the load. Look, I could have read this instead of just coming up with my own at the beginning of the video. Let's see if these match. Let's see if Allurian 90 matches. If you want a moment of thinking time, call for a simple roll like perception check or athletics check. The roll buys some time as the outcome won't matter too much either way. It's great. Love that. Point 2. Similarly, sorry, let me just find the page is a great line because it doesn't really matter whether you're finding a page or buying time to improv. I like that. In combat, have players run and keep track of initiative order and a different player running and keeping track of the battle map. Love that. And finally, also don't be afraid to just call for a break if someone does something completely off the wall. It's much better for everyone if the DM takes 5 minutes to recalibrate than having everything become nonsense. He says, they say, I'm loving these videos, your progress and your enthusiasm. Have a nice week. I hope your game goes well. Thank you, Allurian. I did have a nice week. My family went on spring break vacation, and it was really fun. And that's why there wasn't a video last Sunday. The Bard's College, I cannot believe the Bard's College comments on these videos. That's like a great YouTuber who had an awesome video this week about a thing that I want to incorporate at my table, like a trickster sort of trap. And I won't spoil it, but it's really fun. I need to go comment on his video because there's some questions I have about it, but it's I guess an encounter you can incorporate into any of your games. And it has to do with taking a bowl full of like potions and a note that says take one and what that can do with your group. Anyways, the Bard's College says, I love dropping in common magic items as loot. They're never game breaking, but still give your players that fun sense of finding cool new stuff. And if they get creative, there are usually some pretty fun uses for them. I love that. I love a good common magic item, right? Let's throw them in there. It's been fun. All right. That's it for today's episode. That's been way too long. It's 25 minutes. It's too long. It's not how you grow a channel. All right, thanks for watching.